What if your greatest talent was hiding in plain sight? What if AI could see what others miss? When potential becomes visible, interest sparks opportunity. Skills find purpose. Careers transform. While others search for talent, we reveal it. Interest to impact. It's not the future, it's now.
How are you all doing? I think after the phenomenal conversation with you, right, it's very hard for me to talk about anything that we are doing. It was so enlightening to hear from you, Sue. Thank you. How did you like this video? Can you believe how long it took to create this video? 2 months, 2 years, 6 months, 1 day. It was all done by AI, end to end. Even the person in this, which pretended to be me, was all done by AI. So first of all, welcome to Cultivate 2025. Thank you, London. Super excited to have you all over here with us. Always great to see you all in person. Just such a phenomenal experience, right? A few weeks back, we had our Cultivate event in Los Angeles, next to Pacific Ocean. But today, it's really exciting to be with you all in London, probably the most historic city in the world. What I'm always fascinated by with London is how things of diverse culture, nature come together. Can you imagine standing near Big Ben and not looking at London Eye? Or vice versa, on Big Ben and London Eye and looking at Big Ben? Shard and Rosewood. Horse carriages and tube. This is a country where this is a city where everything just comes together seamlessly. And today we are again at the same crossroads, where human and AI is coming together. So what a better place to have that conversation than London. So thank you again all for joining us today to talk about Agentic AI, HR transformation. 8 years back when we started Eightfold, our mission was how do we enable the right career for everyone in the world? Really looking at people, what they have done, using that to better understand what they can do next. Can someone like me be a musician? No, it cannot be, right? But key thing was that can we look at the patterns people have followed, what career choices they have made, what skills they have developed to see what they can do next? That conversation suddenly became part of every boardroom, every corporate table, every office. But today that conversation has come to every home, every dinner table. And as I start talking about this presentation, right, what I've learned over the years, never ever go to any presentation without a proper prop. So today I have my son, 11-year-old over here, who's a prop for me. And really at every dinner table, the conversation is all about how should we think about the career of our kids. Till a year or 2 years back, the conversation was, which college should they go to? Should they go to Oxford, Cambridge, over here? Or should they go to Stanford or Berkeley or Harvard or MIT or some other place? It was always about that, right? How do we prepare them for that? But guess what? Over the last 1 year, that conversation has shifted from which college to is it even worth going to college? Does it make sense to do Python? I remember 3 years back standing over here talking to you all about how important Python is going to be as a skill. But now, I don't think it makes sense to do Python. In fact, it's not even clear what it makes sense to do. That video, even creativity, is getting done by AI. So really to better understand where this all is headed, what is the art of possibility, it's important to understand where we are and how far we have come. Just 2 centuries back, the world's population was barely 1 billion people. Where I come from, India, the population is already 1.6 billion people over there, right? So 2 centuries back, the population of the world was just 1 billion people. And we didn't have enough food to feed those 1 billion people. People were dying of polio, malaria, smallpox. There was hunger. People were dying of that. Malnutrition, people were dying of that. There was barely any electricity. And, of course, my son won't believe it, but many of you may not believe it. There was no iPhone. There was no iPhone 2 centuries back, right? But just in barely 2 centuries, the world's population has grown. Any takers? 8-fold. It has grown 8-fold. Not just that, the population has grown. We have now more food than we can consume. In America, we are throwing away milk because we just don't have enough people to feed. We have electricity to power this room, all kinds of things, the streets, the glitter. We have found the medicines. Polio is almost eradicated. We have truly entered the age of what I call abundance. We have abundance of everything, from food, electricity, and thank God, most importantly, internet, bandwidth, so that we can go back home tonight and watch as much movies as we want, while our kids are consuming 8K of video gaming, live streaming on Twitch. That's what we are living in. We have abundance of everything. But we don't have abundance of just one thing. We don't have abundance of time. Only if I had 1 extra hour in a day, I would have done exercise. And believe it or not, I would have 6 packs next time I'm here, if I had that 1 extra hour. That's the excuse I have. I could do meditation for an hour. I can play violin and maybe learn violin one day and become that musician which I could never become. I could learn that skill. I can learn a lot more about AI. I can be more attentive in that meeting because I don't have to do parallel processing. Only if I had 1 extra hour in a day. Is there anyone in this room who does not feel overworked? Who does not feel that they don't have enough time? So what I say is that as we are entering the age of agentic AI, it's really not about productivity, efficiency, cost cutting, any of those things. Finally, with agentic AI, there is a promise that it can give us time back, provided we do it right. And I think that is the most important thing. What is it about? Is it about just putting AI, bolting it on in your existing process? I mean, there's a famous story from Henry Ford, right? Should we make a better horse cart? Better wheels, more padding? AI is not about that. It is going from that horse cart to Mustang. But for that, we have to fundamentally rethink every process. Again, 8 years back when we started Eightfold, people asked us, like, why are you talking about AI? Does it make sense to have AI? And our realization was, if we really want to solve the supply and demand gap, if we want to make sure that people are going to have fulfilling careers in their life, they are going to enjoy what they do, it is important for them to be able to do and deliver on things that will progress them further. If someone were to come and ask you, take a new job, but you keep doing exactly what you have done for the last couple of years, you won't be excited, right? That's not fun. We want to listen to the new music. None of us wants to repeat the same movie again. We do keep wanting to grow in our career, keep doing new and new things, right? So we said, by learning across the people, we can predict what they can do next and connect them to the right opportunity accordingly. But with agentic AI, what I see are the 2 kinds of things that are going on. One kind of things are, when you're driving a car, which thank God in London you don't have to worry about it. You can take tube, and which is much, much better. But in Bay Area where we live, believe it or not, there's no public transport. So what you do is you drive all the time. And you can think of agentic AI over there as something like putting a smart cruise control on your car. Or you can think of Waymo, which is going to self-drive you. And once you start thinking of the problems differently, the implications, everything is very, very different. And here's an interesting story. I was having in part of some dinner conversation, and they were talking about like how with agentic AI, healthcare system is going to evolve. And they thought about like, yes, with healthcare, radiology may just disappear because AI can better process, test, imagery, and everything, right? In fact, neurologists may disappear. Maybe psychiatrists may reduce. Number of other professions will reduce, right? Make sense? What they didn't realize, they didn't think about it, the biggest impact is going to be on the trauma center. Why? Not because doctors are going to be automated. Not because nursing care is going to be automated. Not because you will have better medicines. But because most cars on the road will be self-driving, dramatically reducing the number of accidents. And as a result, the inflow of the patients in trauma centers is going to reduce dramatically. And that is how we should fundamentally rethink how AI works. So at Eightfold, we have two primary offerings. One is on talent acquisition, and second is on talent management. That's you talked about today, right? And then we are talking about how talent acquisition is going to change. So let's take the process of talent acquisition. What is the most fundamental thing in the talent acquisition process? As of today, the hardest part is how do you schedule the interviews for candidates? Multiple calendars, how do you manage that? Okay, fine, we schedule the candidates. We solved it, right? But these hiring managers can't give us a proper job description. They keep changing their mind. Okay, fine, with calibration, we solved that problem as well. And we conducted the interviews, everything happened. But as recruiters, we are day in, day out chasing them to give us the interview feedback. So last year, we were talking about how we can have agents which can call automatically the interviewer, the hiring manager, to say that, can you please submit the interview feedback? And that is one way to approach agentic AI. And we will see the impact of that. But then there's another extreme way of looking at it. Can AI start interviewing the candidates in the first place? Sounds crazy. Till a year back, if you would have come to me and said that, Ashu, can AI do the interviews? I was the first one to have said, no, it cannot do the interview. AI is just not there. But in last 1 year, especially in the last 6 months, it has come so far. And you all can see it in action outside. Now, AI is capable of actually conducting the interviews. That is kind of very fascinating because suddenly, all the challenges that we know in the talent acquisition process, why do we need to screen candidates? Because we can't interview everyone. Why do we have to worry about scheduling? Because it's a two or multi-party problem. Yes, candidate is not available or hiring manager is available, right? And here's an example that happened with me personally. In 2004, I still remember, in January, I went to my manager. I was working at IBM Research, saying that, Shiv, I have something to talk to you about. And guess what? His first reaction was, so Ashu, did you get that job? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, last week, you were out for 8 hours during the daytime. What else you must be doing? Think about it, right? We want to hire those people who are dedicated, committed to their work, but then we ask them to take time off from their day job to interview with us. That is a process today. But if AI can conduct that interview, all that just goes away. Now, one big difference this time, today, as I'm talking to you all, I'm not talking about any science fiction. I'm not talking about futuristic products. I'm not talking about things that are going to come 2 years down the road. I'm talking about things that are actually already live, already launched. So 2 months back, we launched AI interviewing solution at Eightfold. Today, anyone who is applying at Eightfold is going through a real interview conducted by AI. So what I will show you next is snippets of some of the actual conversations with candidates that AI did. And so we have stitched that together to demonstrate what is the art of possibility.
Hi, Nicholas. I am Eva, an AI recruiter. How are you doing today?
Hi, Eva. Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm reaching out to discuss the VP brand and corporate marketing position. This role involves developing brand strategy, managing communications, and leading cross-functional teams. You've got quite a bit of experience in brand management. Can you tell me more about your role at Board and some key projects you've worked on?
Yes, of course. So my most recent role was Global Head of Brand, Web, and Content at Board International, which is a global software company based in Switzerland.
Thank you for explaining how you incorporate WCAG standards into your projects. Can you tell me about a challenging accessibility project you managed and what made it challenging?
Yeah, it is a very good question, Nikhil. And I have seen multiple time I faced few barriers. I can give you one good example.
Do you have any questions for me about the role or the interview process?
Well, I'll first comment on the interview process. This has been fascinating, and I will say that I was definitely hesitant to do an interview with an AI agent. This is my first one, and it's also a reminder of the changing world that we're living in. So thank you for this opportunity.
So what was a few things that stood out for me? First, this was all real. And if you were guessing sometimes which was the human and which was the AI, I'm doing the same thing. Third, which is the most surprising thing for me personally, the social acceptance of this. The first time it asked, how are you doing? Not the AI recruiter, AI interviewer. It was the human being asking AI, how are you doing? I don't have any emotions, but I'm here to humor you all, right? The second one, thank you, Nikhil, that's a great question. In this case, Nikhil is the AI interviewer. And every interview starts by telling candidate that there's a escape hatch. You don't have to go through the interview with AI. You can call to with a human being. But midway, people get so comfortable, they lose track of who they are interviewing with. These were not the junior candidates. These are mid-level, corporate-level positions. Candidates saying that, yes, I was apprehensive. But as the interview progressed, I got very, very comfortable, and in fact, I got fascinated. And the best part of this, among many other things, is now candidates can interview at their leisure. So we are sending out invites to the candidates on a Friday, and by Monday morning, interviews are done. Recruiters don't have to worry about spending time over the weekend. And these candidates don't have to worry about, like in my case, that my hiring manager got to know that I'm interviewing somewhere. They don't have to worry about that part either. Everything just can happen seamlessly. Scheduling is not a challenge because AI interview is available 24/7 to interview. And no longer chasing AI to give you that transcript and summary and score and all the interesting parts from the interview process. What happens with me as well, in a normal case is someone will come saying that, okay, Ashu, can you give me the feedback on this candidate? And I'm like, can you remind me who I talked to last week? You don't have to worry about any of those things over here, right? It's all automatic. But there's another very, very important thing over here. Is it as simple as putting like some ChatGPT wrapper to conduct the interview? I mean, theoretically, what you can do is you can go back and say that ChatGPT, I want to interview this candidate for software engineering. Go evaluate this candidate on these 3 skills. But just to put it in perspective, to better understand what is the difference between how we do it versus how that would work. Around 4 or 5 years back, again, this prop over here, in the morning complained to me that, Papa, I'm having a stomachache. Can't speak for you, but for me, that gives me a free passport, free thing to complain to him that, you know what, I've told you so many times not to eat that cake and that pizza. You should be eating more fiber, more healthy food. But guess what? You give him some terms, calm him down. He lies down for a while and everything, right? At 8 p.m. or so, he comes to me and says that, Papa, I cannot bear the pain. Well, if it was some random solution, I would have said that, yeah, fine, whatever, you know what? Maybe you want to play PS5 or watch some movie or another excuse from you, right? But as a parent, as a dad, I knew when this one says that, unlike my other one over here, as you can see on his face, right? I don't have even a second to waste. And thank God I went to the emergency room right then and there, because within 2 hours, he needed to be operated for appendicitis. We know our kids best. We understand what they mean when they say something. And to hire the right talent, it is equally important to better understand what works in your organization. It's not about assessing them on simple keywords like Python, but truly understanding how an interview should get conducted for your organization. What skills to assess, what gaps to look for, where we have the confidence in candidate skills, where we don't have, so that the right interview feedback can be generated at that half an hour process or 2 hour process, so that we can make the right hiring decisions, right? This is all live in production. If any one of you are thinking about it, you can go and outside, conduct a real interview. You can take a mock interview. Actually, you can all see it in action. It's working. Today, we have around 20 plus customers already trying this out in different stages of the process, across all kinds of roles, across many different locations. And the results are fascinating. The time to hire is dramatically dropping. But another thing that this is doing, we have been at Eightfold talking about for the last 8 years that we are an AI-first company, native AI company. What is the strongest statement we can make to the candidates? You know, what is the number one skill you need to be looking for right now in your organization? I think, yes, agility is extremely important. Learnability is extremely important. But even more important is AI acceptance. How comfortable they are when it comes to using AI. Because that is the part of every life, every function, every role, whatever they are doing, right? If they're coding, they need to use some kind of a cursor or any variant of that. If they are a creative marketer, they should be generating the videos through this. So what this is putting the reality in front of the candidate, this is who we are, this is how we operate, this is how we do things. And other thing that you might have noticed over here, instead of saying that how do we just automate the process, let's rethink fundamentally how things should get done. But now this person who we just hired, let's say John, joins the company, you put them in some corporate hierarchy somewhere, becomes part of your organization. And the fun begins. John is super excited, everyone welcomes him, everyone is excited to meet him. They start having all the conversations. But guess what? Next week, as John starts talking to the companies, they have a lot of challenges. So what can we do to solve for that, right? So one thing at Eightfold now we thought about, right? If we think of talent management, what is the most fundamental thing we can do? As an organization, can each and every person, each and every employee of yours have their digital twin? You know, the iPhone did not exist 20 years back. And today, when we walk out of the home, without our phone, we almost have a panic attack. Right? That's the world we are living in. So while this may sound like futuristic, right? I won't be surprised in near future, in 3 to 5 years, each and every one of us will have our digital twin. Something that has learned from each and every action we have ever taken. Every piece of knowledge we have accumulated. Every decision we have made. every communication that we've made. So we integrate with your email, Slack, Teams, messaging platforms, Documents, Confluence, Google Stack, Microsoft Stack, Atlassian Stack, Salesforce CRM, Microsoft Dynamics, whatever system you are using. We build a model for each individual to create their digital twin, a digital replica of that person. Now, why that matters, what it can do for you, right? Very first thing is this John as they joined the organization, right? In a normal case, what will happen is day 1 is great. By day 2, day 3, as they start showing up in meetings, the very first answer is, I don't know. I'm new, I'm still learning. Now think about you. Many of you are customers, prospects, right? You have a customer success person, they leave, the new person shows up. They're like, Melissa, can you please explain to me again what are the challenges you are running into? And that is bad for everyone. Or you're like, what about those 3 announcement requests we have filed? Oh, I don't know, let me go get back to you, come back to you. And you're like, but you know that your predecessor promised us all these things? And now you're again coming back to us, right? I mean, it's a painful, bad experience. There are 2 ways to solve that problem. One is, let's assume John took the role of Bob, who is the predecessor, right? Either Bob is around for next 3 months, guiding John every day in that process, showing up, shadowing them in every meeting. The only thing better, or at least as good as that, or maybe slightly worse, but it's still very, very relevant, is if the digital twin of Bob is around, guiding, helping John on every step of the way. On an average, many of you have organizations which have 50,000 employees, 100,000 employees, right? And every year, 10, 15, 20,000 people are departing the organization. The massive knowledge drain that you all are going through. If you can preserve all that information, make it accessible to the next person. We talked about succession planning. Someone joins the role. If the digital twin of the predecessor is available over there, the quality of the outcome dramatically changes, right? So that is what it can do for you. The goal is not to replace John, but the goal is to make John 10x more effective in real time. Right? Okay, sounds good. So we did that. In my case, again, I joined Google. I was super excited. I didn't have the digital twin of my predecessors, so I managed somehow. But one of the things Google sold me first on was that we have all these exciting people in our organization, right? They can be your mentors. So 2 years back, we started working on mentorship at Eightfold. We built all the processes around it. You can find the mentor. You can look at the mentor who has a certain set of skills. You can connect with them, engage with them, and so on. But the challenge is, in my case as well, I drank the Kool-Aid. I assume people like Windsurf are there. They will have time to mentor me. But 2 challenges happened. One, all these luminaries, they don't have time for me. I'm a newbie over there, right? But second, every time even when you have a mentor, aren't you concerned, you have inhibitions that, can I ask them that question? Will I get judged? You have that simple question about, like just before coming over here, I was practicing my talk, right? And there's an inhibition. How will people judge me? Should I practice? Should I not practice? What will think about me, right? Except for only if each and every person of their digital twin. Now, instead of asking Windsurf, I can go to the digital twin of Windsurf and ask 24/7 any questions I have without being judged, getting the right answer. And of course, if I'm not happy with the answer or not satisfied, I can go. But now Windsurf is accessible to 100,000 employees at Google. Many of you as HR leaders, right, if there's a new recruiter or sourcer who joins and they have any questions, they just can come to your digital twin to get the answer. It is about making everyone smarter, accessible. And that is what we are solving over here. Another complex process in enterprises is performance management. How many of you love to write self-assessment document over here? Any show of hands? I tell people, I mean, it's actually partly true. In our family, there are 2 weeks in a year where it is an extremely tense environment. Why? Because we are having a performance review. No, not between me and my spouse. No, we don't do each other's performance review. But when in our companies a performance review is going on. People procrastinate, people spend weeks thinking about what to write. The hardest question that I found is when my manager has asked me, so how do you think last year was? How did you perform? I'm like, is this a trick question? Should I say I did extremely well? And they will be like, I have low standards? Or should I say, yeah, I kind of did okay, but then I will get dinged because I myself am acknowledging that I did not do well. I have to go and generate that whole self-assessment document. We talk about diversity, right? Some people are gregarious. They will say, I did all these kind of hundreds of things, right? Other people will only highlight 2 or 3 things. So as we started thinking about, this is a problem that needs to get solved. I was here last year talking to many of you. And one thing that I heard loud and clear that, Anshu, what are your thoughts on performance management? Are you going to solve that problem? Well, now if I have my digital twin, it can summarize consistently, reliably, in the right format, everything that I did throughout the year. Because it knows everything that I've done. Won't that be cool? And that is how we need to fundamentally rethink every process with agentic AI. The future of talent management is all about understanding your employees deeply, in and out, and guiding them, helping them at every step of the way. We can apply it to learning and development. We can apply it to succession planning, career pathing, understanding the skills of each person. One of the things that many CEOs are asking me is that, can you help me understand what is the AI literacy in my organization, AI adoption in my organization? Now I can look at how people are adopting different tools, technologies to help enterprises understand that better. But the best part is, now if I have access to my own digital twin, I have a poor memory. I forget the names. In fact, not just the names. Anytime you're walking into a meeting and worried about, what is the context of this meeting? I forgot what was my last conversation, and then you're scrambling through emails and documents to figure out what you should talk. I'm going into this customer meeting, and I'm calling my CSMs and AEs and everyone. Can you just create a debrief packet for me? And that takes hours for them, sometimes days, and it misses out all the critical information still. But if I have my digital twin, I can just ask that and get all the answers. That is the power this enables. And at each step of the way, giving us back time. Time, which is the most scarce commodity. That meeting debrief went from a day to minutes. That performance review went from a week, 2 week, 3 week long procrastination to a minute. That onboarding went from 3-month exercise to real time. Really fundamentally thinking how every process in organization needs to change. And how this should get plugged into the talent management solution that we have, so that everything from understanding skills, understanding talent, career pathing, succession planning, to enabling each person real time. I say we have not entered the age of agentic AI. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited to say that we are entering the age of time. Finally, we will have some free time available to do what we like to do best. But I doubt I will come back next year. A year from now, I will have 6 packs, because even though I have 1 extra hour a day, I will find an excuse to do something else, right? But thank you all. Super excited to welcome you today.